Welcome, Dr. Meg Rosenblatt, the chair of the Department of Anesthesia at Mount Sinai, Morningside, and West Hospitals.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. I appreciate your time. She is recognized as the first person to administer 20% intralipid therapy to treat local anesthetic systemic toxicity in a patient. For those of us who may not know you very well, can you please give us a brief summary about yourself?
Well, I'm currently a professor of anesthesiology and orthopedics at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. I was the chair of the 2020 annual meeting of the American Society of Anesthesiologists, and I'm the current chair of the general chair of the 2021 New York State Society meeting, which is known as the PGA. I am what's called a full examiner for the applied exam for the ABA, and I just finished my third term as a senior editor of the basic exam. Right now, I'm spending a lot of my energies as a member of the board of directors for ASRA and on my own healthcare systems appointment, promotion, and tenure committee. I have also been married to my husband, David Stein, for more than 34 years, and I'm the mom of two amazing adult children.
Well, welcome, and thank you for joining me today. You're very accomplished, and I look forward to this wonderful conversation. As a young attending, did you expect to have all these pursuits when you first started out?
I really had no idea what I wanted to do or what the options were at that time. I thought maybe program director would be where I would lead myself. I was interested in regional, I was interested in OB anesthesia, I was interested in transfusion medicine. I basically was a Jack Russell Terrier jumping at things and just wanting to see what stuck. And I really floundered until I stumbled into the Society for Education of Anesthesia, which was home for a lot of like-minded people that were interested in education and did not really have tools or confidence to move forward. And anybody who's listening who needs a jumping off start for their own academic careers, I can't say enough wonderful things about SEA and what they've done for so many people.
Thank you. I am happy that you brought that up because through my interviews with other women, a lot of them also mentioned that they have grown in their career through participating in different societies, whether it's the ASA or SEA or SPA or any of the other ASRA, any of the other organizations. So thank you for mentioning that as well. Can you tell me how your career goals changed over your career?
Well, I had sort of two paths while I was young. I settled on the regional path and I settled on something in education. But I didn't really realize there was an end game until I saw people being promoted around me. And then all of a sudden, promotion sort of became my Everest. And I realized that it was going to be a long climb. And, you know, we stopped to have children, we stopped to do other things. And we as women have to stop thinking that that is a derailment. It's a blessing. It makes us better people. And it's just a privilege to be able to do everything. So I learned that this was going to be a slow and steady climb, but I was confident I would get there. And I continued to add things to my career that made me satisfied. And I was astute enough to get rid of the things that I was doing that just didn't make me happy. And that's a hard thing to learn. You know, people tend to be Pac-Men and just add to their CV and, you know, give it to somebody else or help somebody else who's going to really enjoy it more than you are. Do not do things you don't like.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you. That's a great message. A little bit more, talking a little bit more about learning how to say no, because this is A hard thing. How did you learn how to do that, or what techniques have you used?
Well, we're jumping ahead of our line of questioning. So anybody who's listening needs to know now I'm off the cuff because I don't know where you're going with this. But I am going to say that I was a very, very lucky person. Not anybody in the world gets to make a career out of a case report. Mm-hmm. And I really sort of learned that being in academics is a lot of fun and very rewarding through this case report. And I realized I got here without sitting in the lab, without really doing the hard work. And I have to say that I am so grateful. And I learned, number one, that it's my job to pay it forward. If I can find the beauty in this and the satisfaction of this career, I want to share that with people. Maybe that's the message of why I got to where I was. And the other thing is that, and this is a terrible story, but many years ago, when I was running around with an ultrasound in my hand, having what I used to call block parties, because anytime I did a block in those days, it was a party. Somebody pulled me aside and said, "Why are you teaching everybody everything you know? That makes you worth less." And I was horrified. I could not believe that somebody was telling me this. Our successes as educators are teaching people and watching what we teach them be done better, differently, with enthusiasm, or passed on. And if you don't understand that paying it forward is everything in this job, academics is not for you. And it was really a light bulb moment. And from that time, I've learned that if I'm going to pay it forward, I have to give things back. And that's how I learned how to say no, meeting people who could do what I was doing better. Mm-hmm. And then, I'm really getting to the end of this talk of your questions, but being able not only to be a mentor, but to be able to be a sponsor is such a privilege. Mm-hmm. It really is. And every day I watch people that I've touched, helped, mentored, sponsored do wonderful things for our profession, for our specialty. And every one of those I count as my win. I win every day. I have the best job in the world.
That's awesome that you say that, because a lot of people mention that they don't have a sponsor or they don't have a mentor. And it's great to see people like you who pay it forward and help people along in their careers.
What's left to do? Right?
Yeah.
This is the third trimester of my career, and this is how I'm spending it.
That's great. That's awesome. Looking back on your career, what would you tell your younger self?
I would have worked a little harder to get the skills that I needed before I got here. I would have said, you're going to need these, and having a better EQ is just as important as being able to do the latest fascial plane block. I would have really worked a little harder on those things. Mm-hmm. And I would have dared to apply to jobs that I really didn't want, just for the practice and the experience of seeing what people wanted and what else was out there. Mm-hmm. I would have told myself to be a little less complacent.
Mm-hmm. 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 But yeah, that's hard to do though. So sometimes.
So now I tell other people to be a little less complacent.
Right. How did you find your mentors?
Well, again, I'm going to say I never really had mentors. I have a bunch of really smart, savvy women. And we all met back a million years ago when the oral boards were given twice a year. Mm-hmm. There were 120 examiners, 110 of whom were men. And the 10 women at each of those sessions really bonded over life experiences. We were all in the same place. We all went from assistant professor to associate professor together to full professor. We all had children. We all have been marrying them off and celebrating their successes now. And these are my mirrors. These are the women who I've said, this isn't working. What should I do? And we shared what worked for us and what didn't. And we've encouraged each other to jump higher and reach further than we ever did. And that is another beauty of being very active in your academic career. All through COVID, my women were in California, in Wisconsin, Texas, Florida, pick states, and New York, where I am. Like, we were talking COVID every week. Mm-hmm. Even learning, how to take care of patients and talking about the emotional tolls that it was taking on us and looking forward to being together again. And while it hasn't been a formal mentorship, I would call it a cobble of really great people who I've been very fortunate to consider friends and would never have met without this academic career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really wonderful to have that group of women to learn from and share life experiences with. So that's great. I think it makes the group stronger, having those relationships. What was the most helpful career advice that you ever received from a mentor or a sponsor or one of the women from this group?
Just knowing that everybody had my back and go for it. And through all of our careers, we've made career moves, lateral, upward, changing paths, just knowing that these are and a dozen extra set of eyes and ears. So when something comes out of my mouth that's good or bad, or they feel that it's not a good move or it's a great move, that I hear it from, again, these mirrors. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just the support of the people who I work with when I do things is not advice, but it's confirmation that I'm going in the right way. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all this wonderful conversation. You're very fascinating and you gave so much great advice. Thank you.
Well, I thank you very much for listening to me. And, whoever's out there listening, please don't hesitate to reach out if you've got specific questions or anything I can help you with, because, like I said, that's what I do. It was lovely, and congratulations on your project.